Orc POV.
It hurts. I can't see. Help.
Orc can't swim all too well, but even if she could, the undercurrent of the water was much too strong. Things were starting to go fuzzy, but just as her eyes began to close, she saw a shape enter the water above her, but it all went black before she could see more. Jack POV. It had been quite the busy night, finding and meeting his crew throughout the night, but he's confident he's cast a wide net. He already knew most of these birds from his life as a regular bird, but now he had a purpose for them and himself. With the manner given to him by Vidmori, he imbued the core's influence into about 20 birds. While they weren't too different from ordinary birds, they were now more intelligent and stronger than the average bird. Though in giving them mana, Jack became more powerful as their captain. From what he's observed from the kills his crew manages to score, the individual gets a portion of the vital mana from the kill. From there, he gets a share of the energy, and the rest is sent to Vidmori. So after getting his crew established, Jack managed to get all the mana he's expended to recruit them back thanks to their efforts. This morning he was enjoying some fresh tree nuts he managed to crack all on his own, enjoying the fruits of his labour within the hard shell, when he was suddenly interrupted by the harsh landing of one of his crew birds.
"Captain, trouble over by the river," squawked out Ghibli, a scruffy and plump-looking owl who was already rather intelligent before being imbued with Jack's mana. Jack let out a low whistling sigh as he peered over the edge of the branch to look at his nut, which had now fallen into the tall grass and leaves at the base of the tree. Shaking his head, he looked over to Ghibli and tilted his head a bit.
"What is it, Ghibli? Speak up."
Ghibli, however, was panting and out of breath as he tried to get his message across. "Trouble. River. Small tube. Two-leg thing fell in. It hasn't come up again. Swan is there, but the thing is too heavy," he finally managed to squawk out.
Jack didn't bother with a response, flapping his wings with such force thanks to manipulating the wind around him that the tree shook, knocking down even more nuts as Ghibli took off after Jack at a slower pace, already panting with each flap. This was precisely what Vidmori told him to keep an eye out for, and he wasn't about to fail him on his first day. Within seconds he arrived at the river. Not seeing Swan right away, he sped up along the current of the water. Soon enough he heard the sounds of his crew bird, Swan, calling out to him. "Captain, down here! It isn't moving anymore." Swan hajonked up to him. "Aye," Jack calls down in confirmation, as he pivots in the air before diving into the water. Swimming through it with practiced ease while he manipulates the currents to close the distance when he spots the little girl. His claws grab at the collar of her tunic, extending his wings. The air and currents spiral around him before launching out of the water. He quickly manages to get to the riverside before continuing to use his wind manipulation to pull the girl out of the water. Swan coming over and pitching in as she contributes both her mana and bigger physical form. Once the girl was out of the water, Jack hopped onto her chest and looked her over before leaning in and placing his head against her chest. "She's not breathing. She must have water in her." "What can you do about it?" honked Swan, looking between the two-leg thing and Jack with concern. Thinking quickly, he reaches out with his mana to pull the water out of the girl. Surprisingly, he finds that she's made mostly of water, though he does find two places where air and water were mixed, and decides to grab that. With a ruffle of his feathers, he manipulates the river water as it comes up her throat and mouth. When most of it was out of her, Orc suddenly began coughing, taking huge, deep, and desperate breaths, startling Jack and Swan as Jack flitted off the girl but touched down on the dirt beside her. Orc soon began to cry from the pain of coughing and the frightening experience, though she would be fine now. She wasn't even aware of Jack and Swan yet, just lying pathetically on her side, as she just breathed. "Will it be fine now?" Swan hajonked softly to Jack, her webbed feet shuffling in an anxious pitter-patter. "Yeah, she should be fine now," Jack replied, watching the girl before looking at Swan. "You can go now. Good work, Swan." "Aye, Captain. See you later." She hajonked cheerfully enough, before flapping her wings and flying back upriver. Turning his focus back on the girl, he tweets and whistles at her to get her attention. Hey, girlie, how are you doing? Are you hurt anywhere?
Org, for her part, managed to steady her breathing, but she was still whimpering with distress when Jack spoke to her. She looked around for the source of the voice, but when she didn't see a person, she only looked more confused and distressed.
Down here, Jack the Sparrow, at your service, he said with a cheery whistle, lowering his head to the girl with a wing to his chest and another wing outstretched. Standing upright again with a flutter of his wings, he continues to speak. Took a little spill in the drink, eh? Are you okay? He asked, speaking in a more gentle tone now.
Org was genuinely spooked when she saw Jack talking to her, but calmed down more now that she was sufficiently distracted from the trauma she just went through. Thinking about what he said, she nods, feeling pretty okay now. She was shivering considerably, though, while she got to her feet.
Poor thing, let's get you dry, Jack offers,
picking up on the fact she is cold, as he uses a combination of water and wind magic to pull the excess from her clothes and hair before blow-drying her. Org was surprised and almost enthusiastic as the magic rippled around her, letting out a cheerful giggle.
Thank you, Birdie, she says in an incredibly soft and gentle voice.
Jack flutters his wings happily before hopping up onto her shoulder.
You're welcome, kiddo, but my name is Jack. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about me going forward, he enthused charmingly with a whistle. She smiled warmly at the birdie before speaking again. Jackie. Jack let out a low whistling sigh before smiling. Fine, you can call me Jackie. Let's get you home, he said, as he flapped his wings and began guiding her while reaching out to Vip Mori.